Welcome to Hands on Heroes, and we're here today at the AIDC Summit 2025. Tell me who you are and who you're with.
Chris Cooper.
My name is Remington Cooper.
Amanda Garcia.
I'm Keith Woods.
Brianna Walker.
My name is Vishalini.
Thank you, Dean, for being on Hands on Heroes today.
My name is Ashley Drew, and thank you, Valerie, so much for having me here today.
I'm with TTK Liquid Leak Detection Solutions.
And I work for Lantana LED.
I have an agency in Phoenix, Arizona called KB Woods.
I am with Corning Optical. I work for a company called Grunfus. We're the largest pump company in the world.
That kind of inspiration is everything. And that's why it's so important to get back to the middle school. We take it for granted. You know, a lot of us grew up with inspiration and we literally take it for granted. When a lot of these kids, they don't have it. They need it.
Welcome to Hands on Heroes podcast. I'm Val Crafton, the voice of grit. I champion the people who power progress and prove that the future is built by those willing to get their hands dirty. Let's dive in. This episode is powered by HDR, an employee-owned design firm built on collaboration and opportunity. At HDR, people are encouraged to take charge of their careers and create real impact through design and innovation. They're shaping communities today and inspiring the builders of tomorrow. Learn more at hdrinc.com. That's hdrinc.com. Welcome to Hands on Heroes, and we're here today at the AIDC Summit 2025.
Yes.
And one of the first guests today stopped by is Keith. Keith, tell me who you are and who you're with.
I'm Keith Woods. I have an agency in Phoenix, Arizona called KB Woods. And formerly, I have a lot of utility experience being on the board of directors of Salt River Project in Arizona, which is a water and power provider.
Oh, interesting. So how have you seen this industry really evolve over the years?
The data center?
Yeah, and how that's merging with some of that utility.
Well, as we all know, it's exploded into the mainstream. If you pick up a Wall Street Journal, you'll notice that there's something in the news every day. Usually there's going to be 3 or 4 or 5 things that are related to AI and or data centers. And I remember 10 years ago, data centers might have been something that would have fit in the size of a mobile mini unit on a substation lot. And now we're talking about these data centers that are the size of America West Arena, or the new school term for it would be the Footprint Center, or whatever they're calling it. But the size of arenas is now what you would see the data centers housing. So it's really exploded overnight, and I think it sort of caught the electric utility industry flat-footed.
Oh, interesting. That is really, really great insight. So one of the things I want to talk about today is the AIDC Summit. Is this your first event?
It is. Okay. I caught on to this a couple of months back on social media, and had some other friends going to it, and I'm glad I'm here. It's a fantastic event.
Yeah, we started off yesterday with golf. We actually were on the same team together, and we really had a lot of fun with that. Tell me, what really brought you to this event?
Well, my interest has been still the electric utility side and the water resource management side. Even though I'm no longer on the board at SRP, I still pay a lot of attention to that, and it applies to a lot of the people that my agency and I happen to work with. And so here I thought I'm going to get a front row seat from industry experts about what some of their challenges and needs are. And I found out that that is oh so true at this conference. The stuff that I get out of the newspaper or that I picked up in the boardroom at one time, it's only the surface of what's out there. You really discover the undercurrent of what's really happening in the industry, how quickly it's accelerating, and what it means to everyday people in their communities.
I can't echo that enough. That's certainly been my observation as well, as I speak to folks who don't normally go to these events, and they're talking about the stuff that's going on. I'm like, well, I don't think that's actually quite aligned, because the conversations I'm having with folks who are actually on the ground doing the job and delivering these projects, I mean, they know firsthand on what's going on, and so I can't agree more. Well, thank you so much for coming out today and being on Hands on Heroes, where we're really raising awareness of the trades in the future and mission critical, and planting the seeds for children to know that college isn't the only path, that the trades are cool. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Welcome to Hands On Heroes, and today I am at the AIDC Summit 2025, and I'm here with Ashley, and she works with the community and is also new to the industry, so we're going to talk about that a little bit. Ashley, tell us who you are, who you're with, and how did you get into this industry?
Well, my name's Ashley DeRue, and thank you, Valerie, so much for having me here today. I work for a company called Grundfos. We're the largest pump company in the world, based in Denmark, and we have a very large manufacturing footprint. So around the world of pumps, and as you know, data centers, our digital infrastructure requires a lot of pumping equipment. So water and advancing the flow of water is very near and dear to our heart, and it's a big growth area for our company right now. So I recently, 7 months ago, joined our global sales development team to help get our innovative, energy-efficient pumping solutions to the market, specifically the digital infrastructure and data center space.
And we need that, for sure. But you're really focused on that community outreach, really educating the community, and we need everybody doing their part in this aspect, because as more data centers come to the community, I mean, the reality of it is they don't know what they are. They've been so secret for so long, and they're freaking out. Hey, you're going to take all of our water, you're going to take all of our energy, and here you're bringing a solution, and you're doing something. You're educating the community. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, so being in this space for 7 months, I've attended maybe 15 seminars of all shapes and sizes, and one common denominator I've seen is the workforce development challenge, the gap that we're seeing. I also, for Grundfos and a better part of my 20 years around pumps, I've also noticed just in general utility infrastructure, we're not talking to students of all ages, elementary, middle to high school. So as I moved into this role, it allowed me some more freedoms to focus on actually what Grundfos is also passionate about. We have something called the Paul D. Jensen Foundation. So we do a lot. Employees can submit and request community grants. Oh, wow. So I'm really focusing my attention and grateful that the company gives me that, latitude to really focus on something that this industry needs. And I meet great people along the way. As we target elementary, middle, high school, it needs to be done in different ways. And so I'm really excited to learn how to do that more effectively, which is one of the reasons why I was very grateful to have met you and many other people in this industry, because everybody shares that passion. And also I was one of those people who graduated college really just when I got into the big world of, I went into work for a pump controls company, and my mind was blown about just the amount of jobs and positions and other companies, other manufacturers, solutions providers. The amount of jobs and opportunities out there, we need to be telling more of our younger generation about it and get them excited about it.
There's more opportunities than people to fill them. And a few minutes ago, we were just talking about how you had graduated college and how you got through this entire system that said, hey, you need to take math, you need to take science, you need to take technology classes, you need to do all of this, but no one told you the jobs associated with it and all the opportunities that were tied to those along the way. And I think we're failing our students in a big way. I do believe, and that's our Hands On Heroes mission, is planting those seeds while they're very young and letting them know that there are a lot of paths out there. But simultaneously, the other pillar of this, and which is why I have this podcast at all, is to really bring the awareness of the opportunities of today. So, I mean, that was your story. Tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, I got a fashion merchandising and business degree, double majored and minored, and just had an opportunity with a friend that was talking to her hairdresser, who was then hiring. They had a client that was the chief operating officer of this company in Boca Raton, Florida. I was living in Kentucky at the time, and my husband and I were newly married, and I was like, let's move to Florida. And now I can say, there's a saying, once you get into pumps, you don't get out of pumps. And so I'm like approaching 20 years. And it's been 12 of those were really around wastewater infrastructure, which, come to find out, it doesn't sound glamorous, but it has been amazing. And just what I learned about procurement how governments, local municipalities, like, and even just as somebody who's a member of society and so forth, it just opened my mind so much to what goes into building infrastructure. You don't just turn your tap on and that water comes from nowhere.
That's right.
And it's really great right now to be in the digital infrastructure space that has this water element. And it first of all, with pumps, it takes a lot of power to move
That's
water.
right.
So the power and water piece is very much tied together. I'm very fortunate to have had the career path I've had so far, and the position I'm in now, it's all about, for me, is figuring out how do we more effectively bring more talent into this space.
Yes.
And whether they're going to work for a municipality or work for a procurement department or work for a manufacturer or solutions provider, it is a ecosystem. I think we were talking earlier, it's going to take a village. It's going to take so many people.
It's going to take all of us.
It's going to take an army.
I said take an army.
The army.
That's 100%.
Everybody. And I can personally testify that when I woke up, in college many days, I never in a million years thought I would be sitting here in Arizona being able to say that I have, 18 to 20 years in the pumping experience, and just there's so many opportunities. And now's
the
more
time.
than never, we have got to get these young students realizing that there's great careers out there.
Yeah. And honestly, it's quite more glamorous than, like she said, it doesn't sound glamorous, but it is fun, and it's ever changing, and it's never boring, and you're tied to so many different types of people, from engineers to design, architecture, construction of every trade, owners and developers and technology. I mean, it goes on, capital and utilities. It just goes on and on and on. And you're constantly dealing with all of them, no matter which seat you sit in. We're all tied together in this one big web, and it's such a cool ecosystem.
It really is, and I think that you said it best with it never gets boring.
Yes.
I've been able to see the world, like you said, meet all these different types of professionals, men, women, all eight. Like, it is really exciting. It's challenging. It's not boring. And here's the thing: water. I'll speak for water infrastructure. It's needed everywhere in the world.
That's right.
So is digital infrastructure now. It has become the next public utility.
100% agree. 100% agree. Well, Ashley, thank you so much for taking a few minutes here on Hands on Heroes, where we plant the seeds with children to let them know that maybe college isn't the only way. There's a lot of paths to this industry, and thanks for sharing your insights.
Thank you, Valerie, for what you're doing. I can't wait to help get some of those children's books into the schools
it's
around
be
the country.
Great. I love that. Thank you so much. So we're live here at AIDC Summit with Hands on Hero podcast, and I have a special guest here, and it's going to be a very special story. First, tell me who you are.
Chris Cooper, and I work for Lantana LED.
Fantastic. So, is this your first event, AIDC, in Phoenix?
It is. First time I've...
And what really drew you to come to this event?
I couldn't come to it last year, and this year there was a special reason I wanted to come to this one. I have a daughter who goes to Arizona State. She's a freshman, and it gave us the ability to come out and see her and do a data center event in the Phoenix area, which is a great data center market.
That's fantastic. Now, is the rumor true that you brought your daughter to an event when she was 10 years old?
Yes, that is true. We went to a 7x24 event, and it was the first time I'd ever been to a 7x24 event. There were all these wives and children and all these people running around, and it really, I'd never been to an event like that. And so it was like, okay, this is going to be a great opportunity for me to take both my daughters, teach them how to talk to people, teach them how to interact. And so the next year, 7x24 was here in Phoenix. And so we came out, and we're at a WIMCO event, and they've got a bunch of people up on a panel, and I lean over to both of them and go, hey, if you guys got a question, let me know what it is. You can walk up there and ask a question. And so they both were, no, we didn't want to. And probably about halfway through the presentation, she decided that she wanted to ask a question. And it was a softball question. It was, where do you do internships? And it was one of the social media companies up there. And so, like, okay, great question. And she walks up there. She's 10 years old. The microphone is above her head, and everybody kind of giggles a little bit when she walked up. And they're like, "Okay, yes, sweetie. What do you need? What do you want to ask?" And she was like, "Where do you do your internships?" And they go, "Well, Menlo Park, California." It's like, "Oh, okay, that's great." And because our family is so ingrained in what I do and follow and everything like that, she knew where they had other facilities. And she was like, "Well, you've got data centers all over the country. Why don't you do internships there?"
Whoa, she is 10 years old. This is amazing.
And it was kind of one of those, everybody was taken back by the question because she is just 10 years old. The microphone, again, is taller than her. Cute little blonde. And they go, "You know what, we really don't have a good answer for that. And so, but we'll get back with you." And it was a remarkable thing that they did get back with her.
Oh my goodness.
But the most fantastic thing that came out of that was all the ladies in that event came out to talk to her afterwards and surrounded her and said, "We want you to be a part of our group." And she's 10. And they're like, "We're having a reception later." And it's like, "Can I go? Can I get invited to my daughter's reception with, all these women?" And she did the best thing of any 10-year-old person you can think of. She looked at her watch and went, "You know what? I'm going to hit the pool." But after that event, though, it sparked something kind of in her, and all of the ladies in the WIMCO have always been there, and such a gracious group, and really have brought her in and communicated with her and got her involved in stuff. And so, yeah, she's got involved in this industry. She goes to Arizona State out here. She's in the construction program, wanting to get a master's in environmental sustainability.
That is an amazing story. And I love that at 10 years old, she got to see and witness what's so beautiful about our industry is the people in it, and especially the women. We surround each other, we hype each other up, and we take each other under their wings, and especially the young folks who are new coming in and mentoring them, because it's so important. And that we start to see more women enter into this industry, and that was just a great example of them taking her under the wing and really probably sparking that initial inspiration after you lit the fire. It just kind of took hold after that, it sounds like.
I really think it was them that inspired her. It wasn't me. It was just putting her in that position, and she did the rest of it.
Yes.
And they did the rest of it, and it's been a remarkable to watch her from that little 10-year-old to where she is today.
That is fantastic. Now, I am here in Phoenix, and I am the I Am Women Phoenix chapter lead, and I truly believe in this allyship. This allyship comes in a lot of different forms, and sometimes it's your dad. And it's your dad who brings you to a conference, who says, "Hey, young person, I want you to see this world, all of the opportunities." He didn't just look at her and say, "You can be anything you want when you grow up," and then walked away. He says, "Let me show you what you can be when you grow up. And oh, and by the way, let me introduce you to some of the people doing it." And so no doubt, this is what good looks like when it comes to allyship. It's phenomenal. And I want to give you our Accomplice in Action coin for doing that, because I believe that we have to get loud and proud that we have the majority are allies in this industry. And I want to celebrate it every time I see it. So thank you so much. But I got a little surprise. We're going to do a little transition right now, because your daughter is at this event today.
Yes, she is.
And not 10 years old anymore.
No, definitely not.
So we're going to sit here, and we're just going to pause for a minute, and we're going to switch seats. We're going to bring your daughter in, and we're going to introduce her. We're going to get her side of the story. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you for being an ally and an example of what good looks like.
Appreciate it.
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you. And we are here, the daughter who was brought to an event at 10 years old, and here we are at AIDC in person. She is a local going to ASU, that much we know, but let's go ahead and let you introduce yourself, and then we want to get your side of the story.
Absolutely. My name is Rebranding Cooper. I am 18, and I am at Arizona State University, and I am majoring in construction management and technology.
Yes, I love that. So take us back to that day. You're 10 years old. Your dad brings you to this event. There's a bunch of grown-ups sitting around, right? What was that experience for you like?
It was oddly weird almost, because I don't know, there were kids, but there weren't a lot of them. Most adults, mostly men, not a lot of women at that time. But I don't know what went through my head at that time. It was just, oh, I have a question. I might as well ask it. What's the worst that could happen?
Right. And your dad gave you space and a safe space to say, hey, that's a great question. Why don't you go ahead and do it? I love that.
And I was at a school where they always pushed us to ask questions, figure out the deeper things, and I asked it, and things just took off from there. I never intended to get into this industry. It was never something I wanted or thought of myself being in. But there was the ladies at Winco just wonderful.
Yes.
And just helped me take off.
I love that. And they are. It's such a beautiful tribe on the East Coast where your family is from. So let's fast forward a little bit, because it sounds like you just said, I wasn't even dreaming about this when I was growing up. What were you dreaming to be when you grew up? What was that before everything changed?
I was the type that every other day I had something new I wanted to do. I wanted to teach for a while. I wanted to go to cosmetology. I wanted to do literally anything under the sun. I probably wanted to do at one point.
Yeah.
I was not the stick with a path. I was just whatever.
Now, it's interesting, some of the things that you mentioned. I just want to point out that these are jobs, teacher, hairdresser. These are jobs that you were exposed to as a young person until your dad exposed you to a different world. And that's really what, for me, Hands on Heroes is all about, is really planting those seeds very early. Anybody in elementary school talking to you about the possibility of going into the trades or construction or any of this? Did that ever come up when you were at school?
Not that I can remember. We always had career days and stuff like that, but it was normally your police, your firefighters, and then there'll be some corporate jobs, but not a lot of electrical, plumbing, nothing in the trades really ever showed up.
That's right.
So it was one where I knew about it, but not deep enough to have a will to do it.
And it's interesting that you even said that, because honestly, the thing that inspired my Hands-on Heroes was I had walked into the school and they were doing a Heroes of the Neighborhood Week. And they had on the list of the people they were going to invite. And they had the firefighter and the police officer, and they had a nurse. He did not have the construction worker. And when I asked about it, the director of the school said, why would I have a construction worker? Because the neighborhood would not exist without it. Yeah. So, I mean, here we are, 8 years later since stepping up to that microphone that was taller than you, and asking a question which was, made adults stop and think. I think it's a great example also of, we do not give our young folks enough benefit, that they are sponges. And they will absorb it, and they will dream about it if we expose them to it. So let's fast forward now to today. So you're at ASU in a construction management program. How's it going?
Going great. It's been interesting to see, because like in our classes we talked about the different like industries and places you could go. They don't talk about data centers at all.
What?
Like they mentioned, and then there's data centers, almost as an afterthought, because they have this like, I think these data centers are like this mysterious thing that they're not going to last. They're not big enough for people to really focus on. They have all these notions that like they push us to go to like the residential or more of an industrial kind of side. But they almost avoid the topic of data centers.
Wow. Well, I mean, if you're not intentional, you don't understand it, then it's hard to explain it. And we've been so secret for so long. It's why we've got to do so much community outreach to start educating folks on what they are. But I mean, we can't exist without it. It's really, really important. So I want to touch on something, one last thing before we close up here. And I'm going to talk and ask you to talk about sort of being that young person. Here you are in college and you're at events. And honestly, this is the second event I've ran into her. I did not get to meet her when she was 10. I met her just a few weeks ago at the 7x24 conference in San Antonio.
Yes.
And that was the first time I met her, and I thought she was an intern for her dad's company. And as they both started speaking, I realized very quickly this apple didn't fall far from the tree. You all are related. And so that was very cool. And then I learned that she went to ASU right here in my own backyard. And then running into her today at this event was very special. What is it like going to these events, and why should young folks, especially while you're trying to figure out maybe where your job is and so forth, why would it be important for them to go and do this?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's multiple sides to these events. The first one you go to, it's going to be terrifying because you're going to walk into a room, you don't know anyone. All these people, it's such a tight-knit industry. They all know each other, so you're going to be the one standing there like, oh, what do I do? Like, I don't know. But the thing, just as though it's a tight-knit industry, this is one of the most welcoming groups. If you go up to someone and say, hey, I'm new here, I don't know anyone, can you help me? They will go, oh my gosh, yes, I'm so excited you're here.
Yes.
And if you don't know how to get plugged into these events, just you can look online and see this one. I saw this one and I'm like, hey, I asked my dad, are you going to this? He's like, I don't think so. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to try to go. And yeah, I just emailed the coordinators and was like, hey, I'm a student. Do y'all offer any like student tickets, student discount, anything like that? And they emailed me back with yes, and I was able to get a free ticket. Same with 7x24 in October. I had emailed the coordinators and I was like, hey, I'm a student. Any way I can go? And they're like, absolutely. So it's one, just asking. The worst thing they can say is no. It's not going to hurt you. It's not going to hurt them. But by asking, it opens up so many windows, so many opportunities to meet people. And it's just amazing. Especially starting off at smaller events is a little easier instead of walking into a room with over 1,000 people.
So AIDC is a really great example. The one that we're here now,
Yes.
is a really great example of that.
Yes, it's a much smaller, more relaxed, not as tense group as some of the bigger conferences can get.
Yes. But once you get in there and you start meeting people, you start to see familiar faces, kind of the same faces at all the different events. Would you say that this is a great place to learn about internships?
Absolutely. If you don't know what you're wanting to do, or if you do know what you're wanting to do, either one, if you go up to someone here and ask, hey, I'm trying to figure out internships. I don't know what I'm doing, but I would love to move forward somewhere. They will. There's, with such a talent shortage, everyone's looking for internships, and especially, it may take a couple of times asking people, hey, do you offer internships? Or hey, can I get an internship with you? There are going to be some no's, but there's going to be way more yeses.
100%. And while you're still trying to figure out where you're going to go, I mean, internships are a really great way to test out the culture, check out the people, see if you even like it before you commit to some place, because nothing's less fun than to switch once you get in there. You're like, okay, this environment isn't for me, and maybe it causes you to leave the market because of that one bad experience. We don't want that to happen, and I don't think that would happen. But internships are a really great way to try it out, check out the company, check out the people, check out the job. There's so many different paths you can go to, and you're going to meet someone. And if you don't walk away meeting one inspirational person who gets you excited about anything in this industry, there's so many different paths. We could sit here for hours talking about them. If you don't walk away with one inspiration, am I right? I would be shocked. I would really be shocked.
There is always something.
Always something.
No matter what.
And I don't think they would ever say no to a free ticket to a student, because we desperately need more people in this industry, and we want you to come here and explore what it's like.
Yes, it is wonderful.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for taking a few minutes on Hands on Heroes to share your insights. I am so excited to see where you go next and where you end up landing after college. And thank you for taking a few minutes to inspire a future generation as well.
Thank you so much for offering.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for being on Hands on Heroes today.
Absolutely.
And we are at the AIDC Summit in Phoenix.
Let's go.
And you've been here before.
Yeah, last year I spoke, Kirk, and it's amazing what he's put together.
Yeah. And why does it, for his mission, why do you keep coming back to this one?
Actually, we have an association. It's like our local chapter for iMasons is here as well.
Yeah.
And if you look at that connection, it's great to have these meetings that bring the community together, our local community,
That's right.
and then the broader community that comes into this conference today. So it's just a great use of time, wonderful set of people, and a really region focus on Arizona and what the possibilities are here.
I love that. Yeah, we had a really lovely meeting last night
Yeah.
and a reception and golfing before that, and then it's rolled into today's summit, the little technical conversation.
Yeah.
But we came here today, I wanted to have you on to talk a little bit about your AI Incubator.
Yep.
And what that's all about and where is it going. It's pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, let me back up a bit. Infrastructure Masons, if people don't know who that is, we're a professional association. We unite the builders of the digital age. So think of, we got about 6,000 people around the world, executives, right, Val and us and that, and we leave our companies at the door. Those 6,000 people connect as professionals, and they represent $1.5 trillion of infrastructure across 130 countries.
Amazing.
I mean, those numbers are mind-numbing to me. But this has grown rapidly so much over the last just 5 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I just reset these numbers in April. And we suddenly went from 250 billion to 1.5 trillion. These are just the individuals and that own these massive portfolios. But it's everything from the hyperscalers to the co-location companies to the suppliers to the service companies to the commissioning agents, like all the people that run this entire industry.
Right.
And what's important about that is the uniting them on a greater digital future.
Right.
So one of the big things that we go after is education, but also around just the talent pipeline. And one of the biggest challenges we face right now, and you hear it at the summit today, is 49% of us are graying out.
Yep.
So, over the next 7 to 15 years, 49% of the industry will no longer be here. We also have a problem with the pipeline. We don't have enough talent coming back in. I'm saying there's no programs to truly recruit. They're not looking at data centers and engineering and digital infrastructure overall. So this is kind of the macro picture of it. We have a problem in getting people resources into our industry to serve the biggest demand we've ever had.
That's right.
And let me just give a little context on that too. We've doubled the industry in 2 years. So to put that in perspective, we now are at 205 gigawatts of capacity. 2021, there was 104 gigawatts of capacity globally. Okay, and I just came out of the floor and I heard the numbers from DC Byte. We were 83 gigawatts in the U.S. last year. It's now 199. We had talked about 80 gigawatts added last year, 100 gigawatts this year. That's another 30 gigawatts on top of it just in the last 3 months. So when these numbers are incredible, but you look at that hockey stick of growth, doubling the industry into tripling in 5 or less, and that infrastructure, Bill Clayman, you go, my friend. So that infrastructure, itself, we have to site it, build it, operate it. And if half of our industry is retiring and we have a small pipeline, we can't do it. So last night we had a great conversation. I love the work that you're doing and, Move Over Bob and all these other folks. And that we need every one of these things to fill. We need the trades. We need the community colleges. We need the universities, the colleges to really get all those people in. So this is a little context about why. Now we go to the iMasons AI Incubator. The incubator itself was formed from a serendipity moped for me, meaning that I was at an industry conference. Schneider had put this back on, and I met a lady there via Brandon Grice. And Brandon, he was a mentor to her, and I found out she was an iMason Scholarship Award winner.
Oh, wow.
In high school.
Amazing.
Which, first, I didn't even know we had given them out in high school. So she was in a capstone project, but she's one of those overachievers. Well, I met her, and then I first off find out she's at an industry conference, an invitation-only industry conference with senior executives. And here's this lady that comes in, and she's going to NYU now. Okay, and so we're in New York, right down the street. We got data center deployments and things like this. But and this is her name, Jean Park. So Jean, I'll throw this up here. But Jean, she said, yeah, I'm doing computer science and math, focusing on AI. Interesting. And she said one of the biggest challenges we have is we don't really have any real data. We don't have any real projects to work on. Okay, and yet we have this shortage and things. So I thought, well, maybe we can help with that. So it literally inspired this program. Fast forward 5 months, and we created the iMason's AI Incubator. But that incubator is elevating our industry because we build the engine for all of it, right? The data centers, the network, the hardware, the deployments of all these things. But the things that are used on top, now we're going to bring students in to say, we're going to give them the MLOps tools. This is all of the AI tool sets, right? And we're going to give them to them for free.
Amazing.
Then we're going to bring the projects in via the companies that are sponsoring their accounts. So now we've got the companies and that brand associated with those students from those schools. And we connect those two. And by connecting those two, now students can go help solve real world problems. They get real world experience. They get all those things. And we get exposure to the students. So suddenly those brands see all of them. It's like internships, just with talent.
100%.
And all of a sudden they can say, by the way, here's my company, here's my brand, and here's a project I'd like you to work on, and they can hire them.
Yes.
So now we're solving a couple of things. We're elevating ourselves to the AI level, and we're bringing in the talent that way. Incredible.
It's incredible. It's incredible. This story really, I've heard it a couple of times, but every time I do, I get goosebumps because it's such an incredible story of serendipity and
blows my mind. Yeah.
And really this ecosystem of all of us coming together, all of us doing a little something.
Yeah.
That's just one piece of it. iMason is really just kind of brought us all together and driving that mission forward. It's so exciting. So thank you so much for taking a few minutes to share that.
Absolutely.
This industry, it's a really exciting industry. If you're looking and you don't know the direction you're going to go, you might want to check us out and reach out to Infrastructure Masons.
Yes, imasons.org. And you should look at the iMasons Incubator, which is imasons.ai.
Love it. Thank you so much, Dean.
Thanks for having me on.
Time. Yeah.
Right on.
Thanks. Welcome to Hands on Heroes podcast. I'm here at the AIDC Summit 2025 here in Phoenix, Arizona, and I have a special guest with me today, and her name's Amanda. And Amanda and I kicked off this event yesterday playing golf. So Amanda, tell me, why don't you introduce yourself? I've already said you're Amanda, but tell me who you are and who you're with. We'll just kick off with that.
Amanda Garcia. I'm with TTK Liquid Leak Detection Solutions. I've been with them since February of this year, but been in the data center industry for 15 years now.
Yeah.
The TTK is a super exciting company. We've been around for 35 years, and we've just started the migration into the U.S. market, and it's going glowingly well.
Beautiful, beautiful. So is this your first event?
This is my first event, yeah. My first AI data closer.
I love that. And pretty easy travel for you because you're from SoCal, right?
Yeah, hop, skip, and a jump. 30, 50-minute flight.
Love that.
Super easy.
Love that.
It's easier doing that than doing the 5-hour flight back east too.
100%. Yeah. So we kicked off our day together. Amanda and I were on the same golf team, so we golfed yesterday.
Oh yeah.
And then of course the iMason event last night, and then today being here at the summit. Something interesting you said to me yesterday when we were talking about leak detection. And for someone who's worked in the field and built a lot of data centers myself, you said something about what really differentiated you was those false alarms. Can you explain that a little bit? Because I really found this very interesting.
Yeah, and it's partly the reason why I took the job, because of the patented technology that TTK has on liquid leak detection. I did not want to work for another Me Too. That was my old life, but I just wanted somebody who was going to be an industry leader. And that's what really drew me to TTK. So the technology behind us, as you mentioned, the biggest pain point with liquid leak detection is false alarms. And that is because of the way the traditional leak detection sensing ropes are constructed. So usually when I present this, I have a visual. So the way liquid leak detection works, it's very, very simple. It's all you're doing is you're sensing for conductive materials, and that creates resistance on a sensing rope. That signal is sent to the panel talks to the BMS. Hey, there's an event happening. We call it a leak, right? Liquid is present. But what happens is any conductive material can set that alarm off.
Right.
So a piece of metal, you have your facilities guys doing some work. Somebody leaves a tool on top of the sensing rope. You will have that conduction.
100%.
The biggest factor is buildup of dirt over time.
That makes so much sense, especially under raised access flooring and so forth.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So that will create the conduction. So you will see false alarms 2, 3, 4 times a day in these old data centers.
That's right.
So now when we have liquid going into the white space, you cannot have false alarms happen.
100%.
So what TTK did was we reimagined the construction of the cable itself. So we still have the 2 conductors that are sensing for the resistance, and we put the actual conductor on the inside of the cable itself. And that's our patented design. So the only thing that can go into the cable and hit that second conductor is a liquid.
Interesting.
Yeah. So build up dust all around the sensing rope all you want. It will not go.
So no more crying wolf.
Exactly.
I mean, I would not want to be the operator who ignored a cry wolf situation because it was so calm.
In the morning.
Oh, yeah, especially at 3 in the morning. You do not want to be the person that shut down the data center because it was always going off with sensors. I just found that very interesting. Now, typically, if someone's working in this world as a job, like who's typically installing this? Because I love to bring awareness to the types of jobs that are out there and what type of roles are you all hiring for?
Yeah, so we're obviously looking for more people on the sales side. We need engineers. We need engineers badly. We're looking for an engineer on the West Coast. And then obviously, I think we're going to onboard, 3 more national sales reps this year. But as far as installers, we don't have our techs on staff in the U.S., and that's just simply because the size of the country.
Yes.
We don't have that big of a footprint yet. But around the world, because we're a global company, we have techs in every single country except for the United States.
Right.
So what we do is we TTK certify installers.
Fantastic.
So we'll see the Rovisys of the world, the Climatex, the Prime Controls, all the integrator, the controls.
Sure.
That's who we're certifying. You don't need to be certified, but we will certify you for free.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really very interesting. I love sharing with our audience a little technical insights. What are some of the jobs we're hiring? I mean, and part of that mission with Hands on Heroes is really highlighting the needs of today while planting the seeds of tomorrow. Thank you, Amanda, for taking a few minutes to be on the podcast with me and educating our audience a little bit about leak detection. I mean, it's a subject that comes up in every data center and not everyone knows everything about it.
It's when it's nuts and bolts, it's overlooked, but you have to have it.
You have to have it.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much.
All right, thank you.
Welcome to Hands on Heroes. I'm here at a AIDC summit and speaking with Brianna here. And it's pretty exciting to have her on because was this your first podcast?
This is for sure my first podcast.
Fantastic. So why don't we go ahead and start with your introduction. Tell us who you are and who you're with.
Okay, I am Brianna Walker. I am with Corning Optical. I've been on our national data center team just since July. Before then, I was selling fiber just to the whole enterprise space, both in Arizona and New Mexico.
Oh, wow. That's fantastic. Is this your first AIDC summit?
For Arizona, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. This is my first one. It's nice because of the growth of data centers in Arizona to actually have one here in our backyard.
Yes, for once. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of conferences out there, but this one has felt really intimate, and it has a lot of great industry folks, and because it is a big area, no doubt it's a nice draw, but it's still small enough you feel like you can really interact with people pretty easily. I think.
For sure.
Yesterday we started out. Brianna was on the golf team with me yesterday. We had a blast, and we had a great coach, Amanda, giving us the tips that increased our golf skills yesterday. Yes. Then we flowed right into that iMason event that night, which was really lovely, and then today the summit. So when we were talking though, you brought up a little fun fact about Corning, and I thought that was really interesting. I love bringing some technical insights to the audience and how cool our industry is. So What was that fun fact?
So Corning actually invented fiber.
Easy.
Yeah, so we're been a glass company for a long time. Late 60s, there was some research done that transmission could be done over fiber optics versus copper.
Yep.
And then 3 engineers from Corning, early 70s, made that happen. So they created the first fiber optic cable.
That is incredible. It's incredible. So if you didn't know, now you do.
Yes. Yes.
Well, thank you so much for taking a few minutes to give us some insights and talk with us here on Hands on Heroes, where we're planting the seeds for tomorrow while bringing awareness of the trades and the needs of today. Thanks so much, Brianna.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Cheers. Right. Hi, welcome to Hands on Heroes. I am here with a special guest who's visiting us from California.
Yes, from both you.
Oh, interesting. So I want you to introduce yourself. Tell me who you are and who you're with.
Okay.
And what brought you to this AIDC 2025 event?
Hi, so my name is Vishalini and I am originally from Chennai in India. And I'm a grad student at UC Berkeley. I'm doing my master's in real estate over there. I moved to the US 5 months ago. And I'm passionate about data centers. I'm learning a lot about data centers. And eventually that's the reason why I'm here. And actually, Santiago introduced me to the Phoenix chapter, and he said, you should come to the Phoenix chapter. And then I was like, yeah, sure. I mean, anything AI, I'll be there. Anything data center, I'll be there, so I'm here. And also I got to meet my mentor, Brian, who works with Curious Data Centers. He's a really amazing person. I just started my mentorship with him. He's been a great mentor, and I'm looking forward to learning more from him.
And that's Brian Darby with QTS, right?
Yeah,
yes.
Brian Darby.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what 2 great examples of accomplices in action when we talk about allies in our industry. This episode is powered by Mod 42, the modular data center company redefining speed to market. From design to delivery, Mod 42 brings precision manufacturing, quality assurance, and trusted execution to every build. When reliability can't wait, Mod 42 delivers. Learn more at mod42.com. Welcome to Hands on Heroes podcast. I'm here with Kirk Bush today, and we are going to be talking a little bit about him, his journey, the Arizona Data Center Alliance, and the AIDC Summit that we just wrapped up. So we're going to talk about, some of the highlights at that event and some of the things that we can look forward to next year. Kirk Bush, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today and have a conversation about this amazing mission that you're driving. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your journey, and bring us up to that point where, the Data Center Alliance was launched.
Thanks for having me, Val, and thanks for all the great work you and Hands on Heroes are doing. And thank you for being one of the awesome leaders of the workforce development and equality movement going on right now in the data center space and all the trades, actually, and all workforce development. I'm Kirk Bush, the CEO of Big Data Southwest. We produced the AI Data Center Summit, which is the event Val was just referring to that we just closed out last week. Hashtags AIDC25, and next year it'll be AIDC26. Val's contribution was amazing. You can see a lot of the media promo on those hashtags on LinkedIn and soon on most of the social media platforms as we begin the outreach to the youth and get them inspired to consider our industry for a career. My journey started, my dad went to work for Motorola in 1958, which was before I was born, in the semiconductor group, which didn't even have a lot of semiconductors back then because 1958, everything was still pretty much glass tubes, and the original Motorola semiconductor plant was in a residential neighborhood at 56th Street in Thomas, believe it or not, because the crazy guy, Dan Noble, who the founding family of Motorola, which was the Galvin family, he was their right arm and their number 2 guy. And he loved to golf and he loved Arizona. So he bought half of Maricopa County and built the first plant on 56th Street in the Arcadia neighborhood across from Arizona Country Club. So we all grew up Motorola babies. I grew up in a machine shop, cranking handles, building chambers and reaction chambers for front-end processing on huge 2-inch wafers. I mean, our wafers then were this big. And also on the back-end assembly test side, tool and die and stamping operations for the lead frames, which is the metal thing we used to put the chips in and then used to put those assembled chips into a circuit board. So I kind of grew up with semiconductor manufacturing and machining and manufacturing trades kind of in my blood. So my career, went from there to then getting involved in all types of engineering, product development, project management, program development for both semiconductors and commercial electronics manufacturing and aerospace. I've done some pretty fun things at both Boeing and McDonnell Douglas and Lockheed and our friends down in Tucson at General Dynamics up here in Tucson's Raytheon. Before it was Raytheon, it was Hughes Missile Systems. So I've always kind of been a tech guy in early adoption and early process development ramps. Contractor at Intel for a while, and you and I have some of that same DNA. Helped them with defect reduction back in the day as a contractor. Never was a blue badge, always a green badge. Helped them with defect reduction in the 90s on the 6-inch wafer stuff when we had to exceed the OEM specifications of the actual tools manufactured by Applied Materials and Lam Research. And then later helped ramp the entire flip chip back-end assembly test process in the late 90s, early 2000s during the Y2K race. And learned a lot, doing those kind of projects. And since then, got into solar energy via Applied Materials, helping them do some tech transfers like 2008-ish, 2009-ish to Taiwan. Got involved then with their solar thin film agenda, which brought me into the energy space right after Obama became president and took our governor to become Homeland Security Chief. Jan Brewer became governor of Arizona. We went from the top of the heap in jobs to the bottom of the heap in jobs and the top of the heap of foreclosures during the big crash of 08 and 09. So Arizona decided to try to become a solar leader. And I produced my first summit, was a Arizona Solar Manufacturing Symposium, January 27th, 2010. And that's how I kind of got pulled into the energy and economic development space, trying to fill empty Motorola buildings with solar manufacturing. And we were fairly successful. We became the third largest solar platform in the country, from 0 to number 3 in a pretty short time frame. During that time, I had my first involvement with workforce development back in the day, and Sandra was the director of the Arizona Commerce Department when it was still in the executive building down at the Capitol before it became the Arizona Commerce Authority. And then Roz Boxer, nicknamed the godmother of workforce, had to develop a solar workforce and pulled me in to help her with that. And I'd never had any workforce development experience at all before that. Had never really had any formal economic development workforce at a state or government level before this either. We always grew in Arizona in spite of ourselves because of the fact we had such good foundation industries such as semiconductors and aerospace and tourism and construction and a retirement community. But when the crash happened in 08, we found ourselves, needing to get aggressive in the economic development space. And solar was one of the biggest things for us to jump on. So Roz Boxer, we call her the godmother of workforce because she's just this cute, sweet little old lady. And we still text. She's retired and in her 80s in Tucson. And we're going to get her on this podcast someday. Okay. All the work we've done with the Arizona Data Center Alliance, and we'll get to that in a second. But in 2010, when we helped get the first Chinese public company to build a factory in the United States, was SunTech built a solar assembly operation in Goodyear, Arizona. And we did the announcement at our summit. Mayor Georgia Lord, rest in peace. She's a dynamo. People who know her and know economic development in the state of Arizona know that she was an amazing mayor of Goodyear. She got Microsoft and all the data center DNA you see now out in Goodyear and Buckeye. A lot of that was her doing. Roz pulled me in to kind of be a facilitator of her process because I knew nothing about it. But in less than 24 months, we had a solar training certificate in every community college system in the state. Most of them were deployed within 12 months. The stragglers took another, 12 months. And you talk about herding cats. She did more in that 12 months. And in fairness to our team right now, we haven't even moved the needle compared to what this cute little old lady, Roz Boxer, did in 2010. And literally, she's my inspiration for a lot of the workforce development stuff. Within 12 months, we had a training certificate in every community college that then qualified. And a lot of it was, young kids and middle-aged folks reskilling and everything else. But within, that time frame, they had a certificate that safely put them on the roof of a residential or commercial operation to install solar systems, or put them on a solar farm out with First Solar, bolting panels to racks and tracking systems on solar farms. And that was kind of my inspiration in knowing what we could accomplish with the Arizona Data Center Alliance and workforce development, because I've been to that rodeo before. It's a bummer Roz is retired. We'd have, thousands of kids in our program if Roz was still, working with us, but she's still an inspiration and a mentor. So after the solar thing during that time frame, that's kind of how I got pulled into energy. And then during this time, started supporting Michelle de Blasi with the Arizona Energy Consortium. We did a lot of energy, economic development, and workforce development together. Michelle has been a partner forever. You're going to be on a panel at the Arizona Energy Consortium November 2025 breakfast forum meeting. Michelle has moderated all of our energy panels at the summit since its founding. And so during this time, with such an energy focused agenda to create jobs and supply renewable energy, you just kind of got pulled into the data center space in the biggest energy user. So I think 2011-ish, I would say. Another reason I wanted Rick Crutchley to be one of the keynote fireside chat speakers is because he's one of the first guys I met in the data center space when he was still at CoreLink, and I was working with a friend of mine who was the deputy CIO at Dignity Health on that site that everybody knows of. But Dignity and the original CoreSite data centers in a basement at Park Central Mall in downtown Phoenix. So that's how I kind of got into the data center space. And since then, the rest is pretty much history. Here we are now, 10 years in promoting data centers and data center consulting. And then about 3-4 years ago, we formed the Arizona Data Center Alliance to be kind of an umbrella agnostic group in the data center workforce development space to support and help keep focused all of the other .orgs we associate with. We're members of all of them. You have AFCOM. I learned early too, you got the different groups. AFCOM's a little more IT centric, a little more appliance centric, a little bit more inside the data center. You have a lot more CIO types and IT types that come to the AFCOM meetings. Then you've got the 7x24 crowd, which is a little more real estate and construction centric. So blending those two groups was huge. Then the iMasons folks came on the scene with their community outreach, climate accord, and real education focus. And then since then, too, we've added the Nomad Futurist, which is very progressive as it relates to outreach to the kids in education and promoting the industry to the kids at a global level. So we formed the Arizona Data Center Alliance to help focus all that energy into one common direction and help ensure that nobody's duplicating efforts. And so far, it's just turned out fantastic. We've got just tremendous support with everybody who's been part of the Alliance. And we use the Data Center Summit, the AI Data Center Summit, to fund basically our efforts the rest of the year with the Alliance and all the workforce development and scholarship stuff we do for the industry.
That's amazing. And so the summit actually started 4 years ago as AZDC, and now we call it the AIDC. So if folks were thinking that this was a new summit, it's not. Rebranded to AIDC. What drove that rebrand?
We had a lot more national and international draw that we didn't anticipate actually originally. So originally we were very Arizona centric, but then people liked what we were doing, so we ended up with a much bigger international national draw, and wanted to rebrand it in a way to where it wasn't just so Arizona centric. I mean, when people go to the site, they go to AIDC25.com. The first thing you still see is, the Arizona Data Center Alliance and SciTech Institute, which is, one of our biggest beneficiaries of our efforts with the Chief Science Officer program and the STEM kids. But it has a bigger reach now, a bigger draw. We had folks literally sitting on an airplane, sitting in an airport the night before, hoping they can get a flight because the shutdown had just ended and TSA was back to work, texting us going, is your summit still on with all the flight delays? If it is, I'm going to jump on a plane tonight and come. And that's, from the East Coast. So that's not just Arizona centric anymore. So that's what really helped drive the rebranding. Plus AI obviously is a draw all by itself.
This episode is powered by Mod42, the modular data center company redefining speed to market. From design to delivery, Mod42 brings precision manufacturing, quality assurance, and trusted execution to every build. When reliability can't wait, Mod42 delivers. Learn more at mod42.com. Well, I want to jump into the summit, but first I wanted to highlight something you said in the very beginning of your introduction. And you talked about that early exposure that you had as a young child to manufacturing and semiconductor during those Motorola days when your father was there. And we see your father still at these events, and he's adorable. I love seeing him there. He's really going around and talking, very interested in what's going on. But
he still thinks I should get a real job. But I mean, what do you want me to say?
I love that. But it's really interesting how that early exposure really pushed you into where you are today. And that's some of the things that I recognized in the industry is a lot of folks end up, it's that early exposure that really drives it. And, your data center alliance and the education and all of the support and bringing all of these folks together and helping get it in front of young folks so that you can continue to create that early exposure. I think that's just such a beautiful mission. Love that I can contribute to that at the elementary level, and I think that's beautiful.
I just want to add one thing that because I'm getting goosebumps right now thinking about your talks with the foster kids and whatnot that Dean was really, really focusing in on. So I had no experience in workforce development until Roz drugged me in as her henchman to corral and herd cats in the statewide community college system. And I really still owe all this to Roz. I sent her pictures just this morning, and so we got to go down and we got to get Roz on this podcast. Having done that, I found myself, Roz dragging me to some Department of Labor, gurus with the alphabet behind their name, that are PhDs and experts in, child development and blah, 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 blah. And I find myself going to some of these, kind of exclusive roundtables with just those workforce development types from the county and the city and the state and other organizations that do it for a living and some of the big scholarship groups. I was blown away when I found out that I thought we were doing really good, hitting the high school kids and the trades and the community college stuff. And this one presenter goes, it's great. It's great. It's just too bad you're too late. And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, unfortunately, in our economically, challenged areas, these kids are predisposed of dropping out of high school while they're in grammar school and middle schools. And, we might get the kids that aren't predisposed excited, their senior year of high school to enter into one of our workforce development education scholarship programs that we have, for becoming a solar installer. And then, talking about that pipeline all the way up to engineering and everything else, and, fantastic careers from the trades to whatever you want to do. And these pathways that we call it now. But we've already lost so many of them at the grammar school and middle school level.
That's right.
And that was a wake-up call for me. I couldn't even wrap my head around that initially. Now I see it. Now I understand it. That's why we really appreciate what you're doing in the foster care system. And we want to build a real pipeline and a path to get those kids jobs and futures and careers. Because that's, I think, where we move the needle. So I wanted to lay that pipe first so that, behind us, what you see is Kelly Green's, one of her middle schools in Maryvale, where we do International Data Center Day at her school with lanyards and everything else, and then pass out $500 scholarships to middle school kids that compete in her academic programs. So hence a lot of our energy. And Brian Darby was there. Brian Darby was the guy handing out the check because he's much better looking on camera than I am. And he's also very articulate. And so, it's important for me to communicate that it really needs to start there. And then we got to, literally inspire that. We can't hire them yet. And we've had a bunch of people in the workforce development where it's deploying them into AZ data centers. They're stressed out and they have 1,000 open recs for guys on job sites, and they're going to lose this job to somebody else if they can't staff it and all this sort of thing. And they're like, Kirk, I need guys now. I don't have time to go to a middle school and talk to kids. I can't pull up a bus and throw them all on there and take them to a job site. I'm like, I understand, but this is a long game. It's a very long game, and it needs to stay a long game, right? Yep. So after some of those same people are literally at the middle schools with me now, inspiring and promoting and helping.
Isn't that amazing?
Well, yeah, and it's what's needed, right? We have to start getting them inspired. And then the beautiful thing about partnering with
Move Over Bob, yes.
I hope I'm not stealing your timing thunder, but Kate's group will help us with the messaging to the youth, right?
Yes.
We're terrible at it. And I hope that Mesa Community College folks don't hear me right now either, but they're terrible at it too. We're good at communicating to our own internal network, but we got to reach the kids that aren't there. Mesa Community College has been an amazing partner in establishing programs, but you look at their board of directors and everybody handing out the checks and taking the checks and working on it. They're all old like us. And, we're not on TikTok. We're not on Instagram Reels. We're not reaching the kids.
That's right.
And that's Kate's job now. It's awesome. She's the amount of impact she's had in 12 months, if it's even been that. I don't know. No, we met her at the summit last year was in December. It's been 11 months.
Yeah.
11 months. And we met her by accident at the summit. She came to help her event friend help us run the golf tournament while she was in the basement nucleating this masterpiece.
Yeah, that's right.
So that is just part of the path, right? To get
100%.
where we are and all the things that have affected our agenda, which is not very typical. I'm finding, in other places, and we get a lot of accolades from all over the country where people want to literally replicate our models. So We're
And
flattered.
and if you're listening, please stay tuned because the next episode after this one that drops is with Kate, and we're going to talk about what drove that mission, where she's been, what inspired the whole thing. And so I just put a little plug in for that. So stay tuned for that. What she's doing is really meeting them where they are, right? And what you're saying, Kirk, when I was talking about that early exposure, it can be high school or junior college when they hear about this for the first time. That's where I come in. I want to plant the seeds with the elementary. And then by the time they start getting into social media and they're teenagers and they're really no longer listening to the older folks, we want Kate's, influence with magazines and TikToks and all those really cool things. That's where they're going to see it. And interesting enough, I was out at, a tech school where I was interviewing a few ladies who was doing welding, and I asked them what inspired them to do that, and they said they saw a TikTok, and then they looked up how much welders made, and they went, "Oh, I want that job." And they said they were thinking about becoming hairdressers before that, and they were looking for an artistic outlet. And they thought hairdressing was going to be it, but then they realized they could become welders and make a whole lot more money. And you should have seen their bedazzled helmets, and it was just so cool. And that was inspired from a TikTok. So I couldn't have made that, I couldn't have set that up any more perfect. So if you haven't heard of Move Over Bob, reach out to Kate Glantz, find out how you can get these magazines and how you can support her, maybe even do some advertising in her magazines, because we've got to plant the seed. It's called branding, right? We don't call it Kleenex because Kleenex didn't do a great job at branding. Kleenex is actually a brand. Not every Kleenex is called Kleenexes, but they did a really great job at branding. So when they go into high school, when they go into college, wherever their path is, that branding is the name that they're sticking in their head. And that's the one that's standing out. Oh, they're the best. They're the ones I see in the magazines all the time. I want to work for them. And not only should we do a better job of balancing that bench on the inside of your business, but balancing the workforce development bench of, like you were talking about, creating that pipeline. And don't build the pipeline half built. You've got to start from the beginning and then continue to water it. Statistically, it's been proven over and over and over. They've done tons of studies on it. And I won't throw and bore everybody about all the stats. You can look those up. But yes, 100%, we are too late when we get to high school, especially when I went to a career fair a few months ago, and it's probably been way more than a few months ago now because I keep telling this story, but I'm just so shocked I asked these 187 graduating students who knew what a data center was, and nobody raised their hands. And when I asked them if they knew what they were going to be when they graduated, if everybody had a path or a goal, only 3 hands went up. And when I asked them if they knew what the cloud was, or if they've at least heard about the cloud, all hands went up. And so we're doing something wrong, right? That's just a signal that we've been doing something wrong, and we've got to change what that looks like. And so that's where that, early exposure comes in. It's what drove, if you ask anybody, it's my favorite question, what drove you? And the number one answer is that early exposure, someone in their family, someone who took them under their wings. It's that early exposure. We started planting those seeds way earlier than high school, for sure. Let's talk about the summit. Let's talk about what happened at the summit. What do you think were some of the highlights and success? And was it a success? And what are some of the things we can expect for next year?
The summit was a fantastic success. We start with the golf tournament the day before.
Blast, by the way. I got to
raising money for the
participate in that.
And that's a great event, and everybody enjoys it. And Patty with Equinix couldn't golf this year because she's healing from a sports injury. So she ran around, was the
sheriff,
the course sheriff, the range sheriff, and
That's
raised
right.
another $2,000.
Amazing.
Riding around the golf course with Brian Jabeck's, Visa link for Connect LLC and a Venmo, raise an additional $2,000 and cash, and raise an additional $2,000 for the silent auction.
Amazing.
And then when we did the silent auction, you're supposed to split it, right? 50-50, 1,000 to the charity and to the SciTech STEM kids, and 1,000 to whoever won.
That's right.
And then my golf partner, Santiago, with iMasons, the CEO of iMasons, wins the 50-50 raffle and turns around and gives it right back. So we got to keep the whole $2,000. The
And I
iMasons.
pulled the ticket, so it wasn't.
That's right.
just
You were the
coincidence. I was
MC.
the random
You
select.
had to fill in for Brian because he had a hockey mom emergency. He's our favorite hockey mom. So yeah, you filled in as the MC and you pulled the ticket. Oh, it might look like it was rigged, huh?
No, that's why I wanted to put it. It wasn't rigged at all. I go, it was completely random. I personally pulled the ticket, and it just so happens it was him, and he, of course, without blinking, says,
didn't even hesitate.
This is going back to the kids, 100%. Yes, love that.
So, then it leads into our workforce development iMasons Q4 thing, which is now going on its third year as a nice tradition. Started out, 2 years ago in Goodyear. But we host the iMasons Q4 meeting, which then we have panels and a reception the evening before the summit, after the golf tournament. And you were on one of those panels. You did your amazing surprise coin. I didn't see that coming at all. I don't know. Did you tell anybody about that? It's one of the best kept secrets I've seen.
I asked Brian. I said, I just need 5 minutes. I'd like to just say some thank yous.
Which Brian? We have so many Brians.
Oh, sorry, Brian Jabeck. I just asked him for 5 minutes. I said, hey, this is my 1 year anniversary for, obviously it was December, but for the summit, it was at the summit, I became the IM Women chapter lead here in Phoenix. And it was announced at that meeting that happened. And so at that same meeting, as part of the anniversary, I really wanted to celebrate so much this year that I saw, and I had heard a lot, women are the worst, and we need more allies, and so it was one of the first things I wanted to do was bring the ladies together and talk about what it meant to be a hype woman. And then we had a next session was really about what good allyship looked like, and Ryan Groover and Jesse both stood up to lead that event for me, and I had awarded them that coin. I created something so that we can just say, hey, it's not just about calling yourself an ally. It was about being an accomplice in action. And I want to get loud and proud about it because I think you all won't toot your own horns. Kirk, you're an extreme example of that. You don't want the spotlight. You don't want the stage. You just want to do the right thing. And I want to start celebrating them a lot louder. And if it starts with me, then that's fine. But I asked for 5 minutes because this year has been so tremendous. And I watched Brian Darby step aside and become the moderator just so he could highlight the 3 women in the story on his panel. And I watched you create space so that Kate and I can share a bigger mission at the event. And then to watch you even encourage some of the ladies in the I Am Women group to also speak. And they had never spoken before. And they were like, oh, no, I don't think that's for me. And you're like, 100% it's for you. And just to create space, I want to celebrate that. I want to celebrate the fact that Dean had even solved the gap and initiated I Am Women in the first place and asked Mercy to launch that. And what an amazing story. And to watch Santiago put people like, Hiba in place so that she can create this charge for the people and education and bring folks together. I just saw all of this beautiful things happen this year. And I said, you know what? This is the moment. I'm going to take that 5 minutes and I want to celebrate them. And I didn't tell him why or what. But if Ryan J. Beck had not gone to Rhea and said, hey, I need someone put into this place. I need help. This is important. I can't be the one that leads I Am Women, but we need one. Then I might not have been put in place. And so thank you, Rhea, for, trusting me with this. And I never do anything or accept a mission. And so I took it and I said, this is important. And I ran with it 200%. So it takes more than just me. It takes so many people. So I had to actually created 2 coins. One was a coin to talk about every time another woman hypes you up, I want you to pass that coin on to her. And it's meant to be passed on. And every time an ally shows us an accomplice in action, let's get loud and proud about it and celebrate that. And so I want to celebrate you and all the other men who are really driving and setting the example. It's unfortunate when we hear negative things. It just breaks my heart when really, really bad things happen. Or someone has a bad experience, but at the very minimum, I want to make sure that they know that they have a space that they can walk into. And that was the space that night. Everybody's welcome into this industry. Everyone. And at no time should you ever feel excluded.
And the fact that, both Kate, Move Over Bob, and your I Am Women Arizona chapter were both pretty much launched last year at
the same time.
at AIDC24. So, I'm honored to facilitate both of those. And they're both just amazing miracle accidents. I would love to take credit for either of them, but I can't. All I can do is provide a platform once, the Deans and the Bills and the Santiagos and the Rias and all those folks invent these concepts. I'm happy to facilitate them. And what I told Dean at the original Goodyear event 3 years ago was the first time we hosted the iMasons Q4 meeting tied to the summit, tied with the golf event, tied to fundraising, that, Arizona wants to be his boots on the ground for piloting programs. And we will be the boots on the ground, pilot it, get it running, put a lot more energy in it than most people usually do when they start these kinds of things, and then get it to where it can get some momentum and get some inertia. It's a lot easier to grow it once it's got inertia somewhere. We'll do a little plug too, because here's Dean's latest child.
AI Incubator. And if you're listening, you will have heard a short clip on him talking about this AI Incubator. It's powerful, student-powered AI service platform, and you can get involved, and they're looking for company sponsors for this. It's huge. He does explain it in this podcast, so you will have just heard about that, but 100% we'll have tags to all of this on our...
When you talk about inspiration, and Dean thinks I'm a little silly, but he is a lot of our inspiration in everything we're doing right now. He's a rock star. A lot of people don't realize that he's a pioneer in this industry. Boots on the ground pioneer. I mean, he helped change the world, and he did stuff that had never been done before, eBay and PayPal and all over the place. And, for him, it was such a big deal. I was teasing him and Amber, back in 2020, it was actually 2019, when I was first working on the digital infrastructure minor at ASU, which we still don't have completely off the ground. Semiconductors has kind of sucked the air out of the room for the last 3 years at ASU, but it's something we're still working on. I was going to have the first summit in 2020 that got shut down by COVID, but I remember doing a LinkedIn post and didn't even know who Dean was. He was just like untouchable rock star in our little minds. And I tagged him on posts, and he never got a response and everything. And during that time, like late 2019, just after we had hosted 7x24 International here at the JW Marriott. And that's where I first met Nabil. That's where Nabil first came on the scene, 2019. It's also when we launched the very first and founded the very first 7x24 International Data Center Day. It moved to March, but the original one was October 2019, which seems like, eons ago now. Dean had done a comment on one of our Then it was going to be the USDC20, US Data Center 20 was the original hashtag. He did a comment on one of our promotional posts that said, well, maybe I'll just get in my new Tesla X and drive over to Phoenix and see what the heck's going on with you guys. And it was like the biggest deal in the world to me. It's like, Dean Nelson responded to one of our posts. Look, we could be somebody someday. That's so I'm telling a story, and he and Amber just rolling their eyes, laughing. The summit was the first time I've actually met Amber, too, for the first time, and in person, because everybody's just been so busy going different directions. And it's another funny story, too. I was just finishing up working with some of the promo stuff off the video we have, and Amber, I don't know if you saw Amber introducing the AI panel with Bill and everything. She did a cameo appearance on the stage and called everybody up on a panel. Well, that's going to be our first Instagram reel and TikTok that you and Kate have to work on. And as we were just laughing just now in the text when I sent her some of the stills, but that kind of inspiration is everything. Yes. And that's why it's so important to get back to the middle schools. We take it for granted. Mm-hmm. A lot of us grew up with inspiration, and we literally take it for granted. When a lot of these kids, they don't have it. They need it. And that's what our job is going to be. My daughter is marketing director at Big Brothers and Big Sisters of LA. We're going to tie those groups together, get you a pipe for those foster kids to come through and get big brothers and big sisters and have mentors. And then I've got another group right now who's working on scholarships so that we can just funnel these kids with inspiration, to have a career and have a life. Right. All of that was inspired by Dean back in the day before he even knew what we were. And now he graciously attends every year. And where I was going with this is I watched the Dean process. It's mind-blowing. So I get to Ohio Data Center Summit, OHDC25, Brian's last event. Dean is at the table. My laptop got stolen at the airport, so I'm with my old clunky laptop looking for plugs and stuff because I always have a backup, and I find myself sitting next to Dean throughout the entire summit. He was incubating this whole thing.
Oh, wow.
Was scribbling out, designing flyers, working on it, working on the business model, working on the funding model. Literally, I watched the Dean creative process happen right there at Ohio Data Center, and comes with this boiled down thing now, this boiled down agenda program by AIDC25. And it's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing. And you see how he brings the summit to a screeching halt all the time and does shout outs for the Kates and the Alexandras and all the young folks, that are entering the business.
He does. He even gave Hands on Heroes a shout out. And when people stood up, he stood up and somebody had asked the question and said, "Hey, aren't we a little late? We need to actually start talking to elementary." And I said, "That's right. We need to start talking to elementary." And you mentioned the foster kids. Initially the purpose behind it was really to do outreach to our communities, because I noticed that if a school had STEM, it was for coding and robotics and things like that, but we weren't talking about the trades. So how can I bring to you a trade, very specifically a STEM program for trades? And so that's what we've developed is imagine Reading Rainbow meets the trades. So there's a book is read in a production. You put those books and STEM kits in the children's hands and then create the day in a life so a teacher anywhere can roll into their classroom. And then I read a statistic about how 50% of children age out of the foster care system and become homeless. Why do they become homeless? I asked that question. I'm like, why? They say a couple of reasons. One, first of all, they're handed their bed and their stuff, and lucky if they're handed their bed, just a trash bag of stuff, and say, "Hey, you've aged. Good luck." And if they don't have a path or they haven't had someone sort of guide them to that next step, then they fall back on their luck. Unlike some folks who have, a parent, hey, when things get tough, hey, do you think I can come home for a few months while I figure some things out? They don't have parents to guide them. They don't have a home to fall back on. So what do? They end up homeless. So what if we can get in front of them early? What if we started planting the seeds? And by the time they were in high school, they started taking trades. By the time they graduated high school, they go right into an apprenticeship program that's paying them, and they can take care of themselves. And they can create the life that they could have only dreamed about before. And so I believe that really starts at the elementary level, is planting those seeds and getting, we're doing a great job with STEM, but there are some schools that don't even have STEM and inner cities. So partnering with the schools where STEM programs don't exist, and let's expose them to the trades. And what inspired all of this, there was a school that was having a community, it was called Heroes of the Neighborhood Week. And they had a firefighter, a police officer, but they didn't have the construction worker. And frankly, the entire neighborhood, including those fire stations and police stations, wouldn't exist without the construction worker. And that's when I started realizing that this unconscious bias against one who belonged in these industries and how non-glamorous they were, so we would never consider, guiding our children toward that, was just wrong. Like, we've got to change that message at the elementary level. And that way we can, when it gets to the world of Kate and, these junior high, high school, junior college programs, they've already started thinking about it. And they've been able to prove that, while they're dreaming about what they want to be when they grow up, really is established in elementary school. They do establish that.
Just inspired me for another .com.
We're
not publishing, right? So no one can beat me to it on GoDaddy. So,
I,
so one
I,
of the things that you said
yeah, go ahead.
before I lose this thought with my ADHD.
Well,
Uh,
I'll just say that in this interview, you will have just heard, because this is sort of the end cap to this podcast. I captured the first part of it. You will have heard the interviews from folks at the event, but you will have heard from one of the young folks whose father talk about allies, accomplices in action. Sometimes those allies show up as your father. You will have just heard someone talk about bringing their daughter
I
to
love
one
that
of these
story.
conferences, and I asked her a question. You will have heard me ask that question, and maybe it didn't stick. And if it didn't stick, go back and listen to it again. I asked her what she was dreaming about, she wanted to be when she grew up, before her father brought her to this conference and exposed her to a whole nother world. And the answer was teacher or hairdresser. Now, what you just heard her say was she is now at ASU. She is in the construction management program. And that was a pivotal moment. She was still young, still in elementary school. It was about guiding our youth. So that's why I've partnered with the Foster Care Alliance to make this mission of workforce. When I walked into the Foster Care Alliance, I started walking through and seeing all the great things they're doing. And I asked them, what are we doing about guiding these folks, these children, into a future and where they're going to be after foster care? And they said, that's the gap we've identified. And so I'm going to partner with them and anybody else who wants to know more about that, I'll be happy to share the information I've learned. But it's a huge thing. And we're definitely making that a big part of Hands on Heroes' future.
That's awesome. One of the things when you talked about, some of the STEM stuff, it does end up a little high tech. I was an early judge and promoter of the first robotics programs. And so what happens is it kind of ends up, you're in this nice, tidy little, high top lab table, the Amazon box comes in, and you open it up and you spend, a couple minutes assembling your robot. The rest is all code, right? And so that's great. Don't get me wrong. We need all of that, but it leaves out, 80% of the industry to build stuff.
That's right.
So I got pulled into judging at the Arizona Science Center solar go-kart program. So we build, there's a program down in Tucson headed up by SARSAF that is also then co-sponsored by U of A and housed at the U of A Tech Park, where the kids, high school after school STEM program, builds and race solar go-karts. And there's multiple levels of, there's the kit class, which is the, beginner stuff. And then there's a modified class and a completely custom class of building solar go-karts. And it has everything, right? You get dirty it's the first time some of these kids have ever even been to the auto shop because they got a weld. It's the first time they've ever gotten dirty. It's the first time they've ever worked with, something electromechanical.
That's right.
And they learn about solar power. They learn about building a charging circuit. And they learn about how the battery's got to buffer it to get it to the engine to actually move the cart. There's not enough density in a solar panel by itself to drive the motor. So you end up with all these electronics in between that and the motor to make it work, which is also the reality of a solar farm at utility scale. That's why you have Tesla battery packs now on solar farms to help not only smooth out the intermittency of the energy, but then also get it to last longer after the sun's gone down. So all these one of our hashtags is going to be our geeks get dirty. And it makes it fun. It also really, really stretches them, right? And they also have to raise the money. So we established this program and we work with the school's bookstore to take donations. These kids hit the streets with clipboards, knocking on doors in their neighborhood, scrounging up donations. They got a $4,000 or $5,000 tab, some of them, to build these carts. So they learn time management, they learn fundraising, they learn finance, they learn project management, they learn electrical, mechanical, physics, they learn everything it takes to build something. It's not, none of it's siloed, right? And there's a lot of tears that first time they go out on the track and turn it on and nothing happens. We also have mentors there that have done it while they're in high school. I have ASU kids that are mentoring the high school kids. I have high school kids that are mentoring the middle school kids. And it's a great program, and that's why you see the solar go-kart in a lot of our displays, because of the program we believe in. We also co-host STEM Fest at Barrett Jackson opening day every year now with that display. And so, and it's also then run by the SciTech Institute and the chief science officers, and it's a big deal. And Honeywell's become the primary sponsor of that, I think now, Honeywell Aerospace, and I think they're signed up for the next couple years too. Honeywell's an amazing contributor back to the community for education and outreach. That's prepping them for the trades, right? So we have a lot of kids now that are, like you said, they become a welder. When they find out how much money they can make welding and how welding can be cool, it goes back to that movie in the 80s before you were born, Flashdance. You know, she made welding cool. But unfortunately, that movie's old now, and people don't see it anymore. We should bring her back. We should bring the movie back, Flashdance, so we can promote how cool welding can be. Same thing with Aligned Data Centers. Just did a big deal with Mike Rowe, Dirty Jobs guy, right? And making the trades cool again. We've got a site we'll be launching soon, in addition to AZ STEM, called STEM and Trades. You know, construction has a lot of cool technology in it now. There's a lot of cool stuff. It's not just, you know, digging a ditch and swinging a hammer. So there's a lot of cool technology in trades, and it's a great career path that you can start making money and feeding yourself, you know, straight out of high school, and in some cases still in high school.
Yeah, no, I mean, you hit on a lot of things. I was born in the 70s, though, and remember that movie really well, and I couldn't agree more. The Flashdance, I was like, wait a minute, she's a welder. Right. And nobody made a big deal out of that. That was so cool and so ahead of its time. But being someone who grew up around construction, and I honestly don't know anything else. So I found that really fascinating as a young person when I saw that. And I'm like, yeah, girls can do that too. That is amazing.
But there's nothing that's not in construction. I mean, you grew up in construction, but there's no segment of industry that's not feeding construction. You name it, right? You got CAD CAM, you got computer, you got BIM modeling, you got every kind of material science there is on a planet. You've got sustainability. People have no idea how much technology is in concrete. I mean, when yeah. So, and then steel structures and everything else. So, and ASU's construction management school is one of the top construction management schools in the country, and some people will say the planet. I know a lot of folks that came out here just to go to that school from all over the world.
Yeah, Arizona, ASU has a really great program, and I'll have to give a shout out to my own Illinois State University. It's now called Construction Management. At the time when I was there, it was Industrial Technology, where they focused on high-tech construction, which is how I ended up in the data center arena so early in my career, because that was what we all went into, was more of a high-tech facility. But yeah, I've toured their program. I've been on their the ASU site. It is quite phenomenal, and they're always thinking ahead of their time. It's an impressive program for sure. So as we kind of wrap up here, Kirk, I want to give everybody a sneak peek into next year. Let's talk about AIDC26. Now, you have shared with me, and let's share with everyone, where are we going to be next year?
It's going to be awesome because we'll be on one piece of property, which means I probably won't hit 35,000 steps on my Fitbit next year. Talking Stick in Scottsdale. The golf course will host the golf tournament STEM fundraiser. Then we'll do the iMasons Q4 meeting and workforce panels, probably poolside or some cool, Alyssa's working on all that, but some cool, venue, casual venue to keep that theme going. We don't want it in the ballroom. And then AIDC26, the summit itself, will be in the ballroom, in the main ballroom at the Talking Stick Hotel, Resort and Casino. We're also the breakfast sponsors at Escape the Cold Isle this year in March, and they have their event at Wild Horse Pass Golf Course and Casino in March, and we're hoping that'll be a good draw for us too, to kind of piggyback their event and get a lot more folks, from the cold neighborhoods of the country to come out west and enjoy AIDC26 and raise more money for the kids. Yeah. I mean, it's really about raising. The summit funds the Arizona Data Center Alliance initiatives all year. So it's kind of our one big fundraising gig. And then we fund the chief science officers at the SciTech and the other STEM things we do, and then fund the entire Arizona Data Center Alliance workforce development programs throughout the rest of the year.
Such a great mission. I'm excited to be a part of it, and we'll be there again next year, and hopefully be able to podcast again from there and capture some of the voices at the event. Thank you so much for taking the time to share, your story, the mission, giving lots of shout outs today. We have so much to celebrate and so much to look forward to. We are just getting started. So if you're listening in, I will have all of the tags for all the different things we talked about today, how you can get involved, how to outreach to Move Over Bob. Stay tuned to the next episode after this one. Keep your eyes out. A whole hour interview with Kate Glantz herself, founder of and CEO of Move Over Bob. She's just really a creative, amazing individual. I can't wait to introduce her to the world, for that matter. And so thank you again, Kirk, for taking some time today. Really appreciate it.
So welcome. And a shout out to you, Valerie, for everything you're doing. I mean, you're an inspiration. You're also boots on the ground. You're hardworking. You actually do the work. You're not just there for show. And we appreciate that. And I'm honored that your Hands-On Hero podcast was launched at AIDC25. I'm honored that your I Am Women reign was launched at AIDC24, and I love super moms that kick butt and make things happen, and you're one of them, and we appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And I'll do one more shout out. I couldn't have this mic on or hot without my title sponsor, Mod 42 Modular Data Centers. Thank you.
Way to go, Mod 42.
Yeah. Thank you for watching this episode of Hands-On Heroes. Make sure to like, subscribe, and click on the bell to get notified every Thursday that a new video has been posted. And while we're here, check out another episode. Also, if you're interested in joining the mission, either as a guest speaker or sponsor, visit handsonheroes.net for more information, or reach out to us directly at info@handsonheroes.net.